This episode of RSR is brought to you by Isotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Atom Audio, Spectra 1964, Grace Design, and Picker. These are tools that I use every day in my studio, from the Spectra 1964 STX 600 and Native Instruments Complete 15 to Isotope Ozone and RX, Atom Audio monitoring and headphones, and the central hub for my studio, the Grace Design M701 audio interface. Check out my studio profile on the Picker app on iPhone or Android and follow the sponsor links in the show notes. Grab my free mixing course at mixmasterbundle.com, and remember to like this video and subscribe on YouTube because it's a great way to help support this show. Now, get ready to rock.
One of the things that I do is every time I'm done with a session or a project, I put everything away. I could leave it up and leave everything mic'd up. And in a scenario that I was talking about earlier where I had 3 artists coming in over 3 days, I had to. You can't do a session and strike it and then get in there and kill yourself. But the reason why I do that is so I don't get stagnant in how I'm hearing stuff. We hear stuff, we hear sounds, we chase sounds, and we get acclimated to things and they become comfortable. It's like the guys that I've worked with know that if the snare and the kick don't sound good, I don't think the song sounds good.
Yeah.
Because I want the experience to be great as it comes out of the speakers.
Yeah. Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. Rockstars, if you want fresh song ideas, Complete 15 from Native Instruments has the tools to kickstart your creativity. With Contact 8's Chords tool, you can generate and customize chord progressions instantly for songwriting. And the Phrases tool gives you ready-to-go melodic inspiration right at your fingertips. With 165 instruments and over 150,000 sounds, Complete 15 helps you turn blank pages into music. Pair that with a Complete Control keyboard or machine hardware for seamless integration and hands-on control. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, Rockstars. It's your host, Lid Shaw, and welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn and hang from recording professionals. Oh, that actually sounded really weird. To learn and hang from recording professionals?
To learn how to hang recording professionals.
To learn how to hang with recording professionals. I don't know. To learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is one of my favorites. It's Roger Alan Nichols, a Nashville-based producer, engineer, multi-instrumentalist, and songwriter and mixer. Roger started out as a touring guitarist in the 80s and then moved to Nashville, where he formed the alt-rock band Dreaming in English and later opened his own studio to produce and engineer music for other artists. At Belltone Recording in Nashville, he's produced, engineered, and mixed Grammy-nominated and winning albums. Yeah, that's amazing, man. Including Tracy Nelson's Life Don't Miss Nobody, and Larkin Poe's Venom and Faith, and Blood Harmony. His credits also include Hayley Williams, Steven Tyler, Tyler Bryant, and The Shakedown. That's 2 Tylers back to back.
2 Tylers, that's why I put them that way.
That's right, 2 Tylers.
Keep
2
Tylers
Tylers in the
together.
hood. Kim Ritchie, plus music for Mission Impossible 3 and the documentary Bluebird. Roger's been on the show before in episodes 45, 286, and 467. And I'm glad to have him back talking about songwriting and producing at Belltone Recording.
It's so weird to be like on camera this time. I prefer not to,
So please welcome back Roger Alan Nichols.
Thank
Roger,
you,
are you ready to rock, dude?
I'm ready to rock. It's always great to see you.
Dude, it's great to have you here, man. Welcome to the Vid Studio. Here we are, man.
This is deluxe.
In the lights.
If you guys could see this studio, this is pretty badass. It's really nice. I wouldn't expect anything
It feels like a
less from you.
thing.
It feels like it's definitely a thing.
It's a thing.
No, I wouldn't expect any less from you either. I mean, this is like, you see your studio and how great it sounds and how well it's put together, you'd expect to walk into something very similar.
Do you ever drop that on people? You're like, man, it's so well done. I wouldn't expect anything more from you.
Anything more from you. It's like, yeah, I was going to listen to your demo, but I decided to keep living my life. Whatever that was.
Oh my God, dude. You must have you ever heard some bad demos in your day?
Yes.
What's the difference between a good demo and a bad demo if somebody brings you
to me, it's always the song. Because you can have a bad demo of a great song and it's still great because the song's great.
Yeah.
If the song is not great, it doesn't matter how good it sounds.
What about the singer? So like when you get a demo, do you sometimes get a song that's really good where you're like, okay, this is not the person who's going to sing it, but
sometimes
we know this is going to work for somebody else singing it?
Well, normally when I normally write with an artist that's doing a project. So the voice is already a part of the equation. But the thing about really, like there's a singer right now that I'm working with out of Georgia. It is, this guy is so good. He's got such an amazing voice that we have to be careful when we're writing.
Do we all need to sign NDAs for that? Should I have everybody who's viewing this, like have a little NDA in the bottom of the video?
Well, the thing is this, when you have a good singer, you can make a shitty lyric believable. If it's a great delivery, you go, oh yeah, that works. That's great. But so it's a little tricky working with a better singer because you got to kind of divorce yourself from the delivery process and think about the lyric and think about the context of it. So it's one of those things. And again, it's I don't know if I've always thought that way or not. It's just that, but lately I've been steering really carefully to make sure that everything is, all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted.
Yeah. You try and make sure that that you have all the right elements and parts for production because, I mean, I think, as we all do this for a while, we discover that like to do something right, it just takes there's a lot of steps, there's a lot of involved parts to producing something great and a lot of involved people and like, right?
Yeah.
So like you kind of want to make sure that you've got the right team, whether it's the song and the singer and the follow through.
Yeah. If you want to mess up a recording, hire the wrong musician to play on it.
Right.
Hire the wrong drummer or hire the wrong guitar player. And it happens all the time. It happens all the time. Oh, this is a little side note. So my friend Jeff Brown, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jeff was the drummer in Dreaming in English, and he's a brilliant drummer. He's a great guy. Last couple of years, he's been doing, like he went out and teched with, I don't know if I could say her name or not, but the biggest pop star in the world who ever did a tour of various eras. He went out and was the tech on that tour. Jeff is a Ludwig and Dorsey. What I love about Jeff's house is he's got a studio set up at his house. It's really great. And he's got a wall that's got so many snares on it. It's like all of the best stuff, and multiple versions of some really great,
Yeah.
So we were talking one day and I'm seeing this more and more and more because people are recording in less established environments now because of funds and you see a video on YouTube about how to record something. You go, oh, I'm going to try that, and you get your friends together and you set things up and you mic stuff. And, so I'll get stuff to mix that is not as controlled as it used to be.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like to do is I like to use, if I need to, only if I need to, I like to use Slate's trigger plugin.
Yeah.
And the way that I use Slate is I use it on an aux setting, and I blend it in. I always audition snares, and then I find a snare that has the same tonality and impact, and I'll bring it in underneath of it just to kind of make the snare go, kind of, or the kick, you know. I don't ever replace the original drum because I feel like you're taking the main character out of the play. There are a bunch of libraries that I have, and the one that is probably, in my opinion, the most usable is Blackbird's. The drum selection that they chose, the snares that they chose, the kicks that they chose are awesome, and they're beautifully recorded. But what I love about their presets is you open a preset and it populates into the trigger library. There's, 3 or 4 different mic sources. There's an effect, there's a chamber, there's a room, there's an overhead. So you can actually blend the drum like you would mix the drum like you would a kit, even though it's just the snare. So what it does is it allows you, once you find the snare sample that you like, it allows you to, pull all the elements out of it that aren't necessary. But if you need something that's like, oh, I wish that had a little more growl to it or whatever, you could bring up the effects channel and just kind of blend it together without introducing a third sample. You know what I mean? It's the sample of the same snare. So what I'm doing now is Jeff and I got together and started talking, and we've recorded it already, and I've started the editing process, but we recorded over 50 snares.
Oh, killer, man.
And they are some amazing snares. And Jeff is so brilliant at tuning a drum. The way that he's doing it is he tuned the drums. He didn't tune them to any pitch or anything. There's a way of tuning a snare to what the snare wants to feel like. You know what I mean? So like he just tunes them all a certain, so they sound great. It's not like a certain tension or anything. It's just the snare sounds great. We'll do a little bit of dampening on it to kind of control the ring. And we've recorded, holy cow, there's 8 sources. So I've got like 2 different dynamic mics. I've got an effect.
Right, because isn't that how many, aren't there 8 slots along the bottom of
yes.
trigger, right?
Yeah, so that's why I recorded
target.
eight different looks.
Yeah.
So we recorded 2 different dynamic mics, recorded an overhead, recorded a bottom mic, recorded an effect mic, actually 2 effect mics. One was a copper phone, and the other one was this little Telefunken TD20, which is a little handheld recorder mic, which sounds amazing.
That's cool.
What it is the sonics of it aren't necessarily like, it sounds a little lo-fi, but the attack on that mic is just like, holy shit, man. I mean, it's just awesome. Recorded, put a mic, a U47 in the kitchen to get a nice tile sound. And so...
Along with the gurgling coffee maker.
Yes, absolutely. Got to have that. And then each snare that we record, so we record a version of it with just a little bit of dampening. I'm not using any compression or EQ on these samples. And that we're beta testing it now, so I'm trying to decide if we need to do more of that, if we need to maybe process it a little more. But I love the idea of it being natural. That's the problem that I've had with most of these samples that you get from sample libraries is they're too processed.
Right.
And you get a snare, it's like, man, this is way too bright, and it's just,
It sounds too finished.
Yeah, it sounds too finished, and you might be working on a track that's not that way.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Because if that's all you're using, then you can have this sort of complete drum sound that's what you got. You better make sure the rest of your song fits that.
That's right.
That's what it feels like to me sometimes. Whereas a lot of times, if we love recording with musicians in the band, which I know I love that.
Yeah.
I know you love that. I'd say any of you rock stars that come from like a band experience first are going to appreciate that. Like, oh, we like playing together, but I just want to like augment the sound. It's like augmented reality versus virtual reality.
That's right. It really is. It is.
Replacement reality.
It's just, as Ryan Hewitt would say, is giving it a little, hey, how you doing? So what we've done with each snare, so we have over 50 snares. A couple of them are tuned high and tuned low. And then what we've done is we've taken 3 other snapshots of the snare. One of them is using a big fat snare drum mute on it, which is kind of a nice punchy muted sound. The other one is taking an actual piece of a drum head and setting a drum head on it, or the skin of the drum head on it, and it drops the pitch of it actually too, which is nice.
Like a complete head.
Basically taking a snare head, cutting the rim off.
Yeah.
There you
Instead
go.
of the O-ring, it's the whole O.
Right.
Or it's just the whole circle.
It's right.
It's the donut before there was a hole in a donut.
It's exactly what it is, man. The donut without the hole. So we have that. We have the big fat snare drum. We have the snare, fairly open sounding, and then we have a roots EQ, which is basically a bandana with a little bit of a rim around it, and each of those sound differently.
I think I know that one. Yeah, it's called the roots EQ. Roots EQ.
Brilliant, super simple design. Brilliant to what it does to a really well-tuned snare.
So it is a bandana, but the ring holds the bandana in place.
The ring holds the bandana off the head just a little bit.
Yeah,
and it's definitely a different sound than the.
It's a little thicker. Sometimes they call it the tortilla or something. That's another similar. Maybe I feel like there's something I've seen that's like along those lines. But bandana is also such a great thing. I learned that from Alan Evans. Hey Al. And it was like, he was like, bandana, and then just like the little black office clips, spring clips, and that'll just kind of clip it onto the rim, and then you can have the amount of bandana on you on it.
Yeah, there's so many cool things out there like that. I go to a drum store sometimes and I'll look at all the accessories and it's like, holy cow, man, there's a lot of choices. What it doesn't replace though is someone's ability to tune a snare properly.
Yeah, or just listen Just listen to like how the drum sounds when you hit it all these different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're doing is we've recorded all these snapshots. Everything's in phase, time aligned. And I will then create presets so that when you open it up, it'll be like, boom, there's kind of a rough thing. And then you can do the same thing. You can bring the other dynamic mics up, or the bottom snare up, or the room, or the affected snares, or, any of that stuff, and kind of blend it underneath the whole intention of it is to put it underneath of another snare.
Yeah. What about, so like, I wonder if another cool thing for you to add, if you wanted, would be like a Pro Tools template or something where you can pull in and open up the trigger with your sounds in it, but also have a little parallel routing to have some kind of distortion or something to like some processing that that's sort of ready to add a little bit to it if you want. I don't know.
That might be an interesting thing to think about.
Like that.
Yeah. That might be an interesting thing to think about.
Or even just a suggestion in a little video or something. Here's a cool way to.
Well, it's funny that when you watch different people use trigger, I've seen people use it so different, use it differently all the time. And it's like, I would have never thought to use it that way.
Yeah.
What I've always ended up doing is just side chaining to an aux. And what I found is you got to be careful when you're supplementing the snares. If it's a stereo signal, it can sometimes get phasey and weird. Like a lot of the stereo samples that you get through trigger are stereo.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine why anyone would run a snare drum stereo.
Right.
Snare, kick, bass, all in the center. Right.
Right.
So what I'll do
maybe the room sound is stereo, but
the room sounds, yeah. But even if you just use like the regular snare, sometimes it's. So what I'll do is I'll bail out of a stereo aux and just use a mono aux and just send half of it over. And that normally, if there's a phase issue with a sample and the drum is supplementing, that normally solves it.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about this. This is the list of snares is pretty ridiculous. And Jeff brought them all over, tuned them all up. We laughed our butts off, and what I love about Jeff, one of the things that Jeff is really brilliant at is when he sits behind a kit and hits the drums, he knows how to pull the tone out of the drum just by the way he hits the drums. You can have a great drummer, but they, not really know how to bring the tone out of the drum.
Yeah.
And when Jeff sits down and hits a drum, it's just like, man, that sounds incredible. I'll sit down and hit it. It's like, now it sounds like shit. But you watch his technique and how he does it. So he's done this great job at tuning all these things. And then we've got eight velocities, and 4 different looks and each snare. So it's a pretty big undertaking, and I'm kind of working on it on the side. And that's been interesting.
That's super cool, man. That's really exciting.
Yeah, it's me.
Let's see what. Well, that's really exciting, man. When you're, I remember wanting to do one of those once, and I sort of started to do a little recording, but I never really finished it. But the idea of doing that was always really interesting. I know that you've got a ton of experience actually using tools like Trigger.
Well, it's again, I did a ton of mixing years ago for different publishers.
Yeah.
So basically you have 20 minutes to make a record or a demo sound like a record. After 20 minutes, you're losing money.
Right.
So, and I wouldn't just mix something and let it go. I would always try to mess with it, and try to, but the easiest thing to do sometimes is to grab Trigger. And this is where I learned to use Trigger to supplement. It's really interesting to audition snares as you're trying to figure out the right snare to supplement. Because you might find a sound that you go, hey, that sounds like shit, But underneath of the recorded content, it sounds perfect. It's doing exactly what it needs to do.
Yeah.
So
what do you find are the things when we're thinking like that, when we're thinking use the real snare plus supplement it with the Trigger, what are the kinds of elements that typically we might find come from our real snare in our mix versus the kinds of supplementation we get from the triggered stuff when we're able to boost it or do other things?
Depends on how much you lean on the overheads. And if you've got a mono mic or something taking a snapshot that you blend in, because it's through those sources that you're going to hear the original snare. So when you replace the snare with a sample, and if you're leaning on overheads or you want something to sound more organic, so you're kind of balancing all of the points of recording, you're kind of balancing those to kind of get the overall snapshot. The recorded snare plays a very important role in that, whether it's tuned right or not.
Yeah.
So you can take a snare that sounds flubby or flat or lifeless, and you can still, make sure that it's represented in the image of the, that you mixed. But it's just adding it, it's finding the right one underneath of it that just gives it maybe a little more chest or a little more impact, or just sound a little more expensive.
Rock stars, if you want your mixes and masters to translate everywhere, Isotope Ozone 12 gives you the tools to finish with confidence. The new bass control helps you see and balance your low end and punch. Unlimiter brings back life to overcompressed tracks, and Stem EQ lets you rebalance vocals, drums, or bass using only the stereo mix file. And when it's time to get loud, Ozone's new IRC Maximizer gives powerful, clean masters without distortion. Go to isotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Yeah, I feel like sometimes the crisp snappiness of a snare can be missing in the recorded one. And reaching for EQ and compression to try and bring it out can bring out too much of the hi-hat or whatever it is.
And that's the problem. Oh, right. Sorry. That's the problem is...
You can just punch that mic. It's fine. I'll punch mine. Look, I just hit mine. No worries.
But that's the problem is we're seeing material from so many different places now, and it's one of those things. I've mixed a couple of records in the last 2 months that have come from Norway and one from Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And where these guys have recorded this, the way that they've recorded the information.
They were recording frozen drums.
Recording frozen drum. It was just a big Icelandic.
Switzerland. Sorry, chocolate drums.
Yeah, is that what it is?
I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go. You tell me.
But both of the clients, I love the clients. They were great. I loved what they were doing, and but what I needed to do was I had to figure out, because of how the things were mic'd, to get the drums to get the songs sounding the way that they wanted them to sound. Required me to treat the snare in a way that was pretty brutal to the other stuff that was close,
Right.
And so you go, okay, how do I do this? Well, the quickest way to do it is just to supplement underneath, just give it something, a little more impact underneath. And then that makes, kind of takes the pressure off the other mics.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess a way for us to think about it too is just remembering that when we make drum samples, we're like only hitting a snare. And if you're only hitting the snare and there's not all these cymbals and other things coming through the snare mic at the same time, then you can do all kinds of stuff, EQ, compression, you can freak it out, and you'll be able to blend that in as the triggered sound or whatever with the original. But if you tried to do that on the drum set snare in the middle of a drum performance, it's going to affect all the stuff that's the spill, right?
That's what it is. It's the spill. And you want the spill. I mean, every song is, I could mix 3 songs that sound very similar, but I'm going to approach the mix differently because of the way that I mix. And they could all be in the same record. I might just approach it differently how I do that, So it just, I'm not saying that I use Slate on everything. I definitely don't.
You're saying within a record with the same drummer and the same drum kit, each song may want something different out of you of how you approach mixing these drums. So that's why you want that flexibility in the way that you augment it. So we're not trying to because you wouldn't want to use complete replacement sounds. Otherwise, each of those 3 songs ends up sounding the same and not
you might as well
right
just
for the
program
song.
the drums for it then at that point, And so you want a little bit, the spill. I love the fact that that's a great.
It just feels like I feel like I've heard other people who sound like they really know what they're talking about use a word like that. So
it's what it works. It totally works. I'm going to adapt that phrase. But the spill is what makes it feel human still, regardless of how processed the drums might sound. And I don't really, I just like stuff to be impactful.
Why is it that those words, it's like you've got spill or bleed, like both of them, like you're either falling over and spilling your beer or whatever, or your tea or your coffee, or you're bleeding.
You're bleeding.
To a mic, because they're not very, complimentary terms, right?
No, but they, it definitely, if you're mixing a track, you know what those terms are referring to,
So what about other instruments in a mix too? What like augmenting the drums? I mean, I think that one of the reasons we get into topics like triggers for drums or parallel treatments, all that stuff, is because drums are typically the most complex instrument that we're trying to record on a session, I guess, right?
Well, yeah, you got multiple mics, so you got phase issues you got to watch out for. It's an acoustic instrument, so the success of the sound of that instrument is directly related to the person playing it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not everyone is Greg Morrow, not everyone is, someone that can sit down behind a kit, or a Jeff Brown that can sit down behind a kit and make it sound like $1 million when they hit it. The greatest example I had of that was, I've got a little Rogers kit in my studio, which is just a fun, brilliant little kit. And I had 3 different artists I was working with in the course of a week. So I mic'd up the drum kit, just kind of did a general, had a couple floating mics that I could throw in and use really quickly to change the vibe if I needed to. First day, drummer came in, and Jeff came in, and I hired him to come in and help me get everything tuned up. And
that's great.
It was sounding great. It was like, okay, this sounds great. So the first artist came through with the drummer, and the drummer sat behind the kit and played it, and I was just like, this sounds like ass. It just, it was.
And isn't it funny how quickly we're like, I must be the worst engineer in the world.
Oh,
I don't know if you've finally learned, but like I remember feeling that way so much.
That's how I feel every morning when I get out of bed. That's what keeps getting me out of bed. I got to get a little better today.
That's what happens, rock stars. Just before we start the podcast, and everybody will look at it and just like, still feel like the worst engineer producer in the world? Okay, me too. Great, let's roll.
I got to tell you, it's imposter syndrome is one of the biggest fear factors in the music business. Everyone that's in it, it's like we all have imposter syndrome. But yeah, so it's anyway. So the first drummer came in and played, and I was shocked at how bad the drums sounded. So I quickly had to readjust everything. And then the next day, a band came in, and different drummer, and it was a female drummer, and when she sat behind the kit, it was like, oh my God, this sounded amazing. just because of her touch and how she played.
Yeah.
And then the third day we had another guy come in, and it was like oh, that's not too bad. But it was amazing how quick the shift in the sound of those drums went depending on who was behind it.
Right. It's
just an acoustic instrument. It's giving you back exactly what you give it.
Right.
And
you didn't, do you think that you left the gain settings for all the mics the same, or do you think you might have adjusted slightly depending on?
Oh, I definitely adjusted. Yeah.
So that's another part of it too. And that's what I've learned when I sit down to mess around with the drums myself. I've been surprised. Sometimes I can make the drum sound pretty cool, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I might, blow it when the fill comes around, but like, it's because you're thinking like that. You're like hitting it more quietly and gaining it up, and you sort of like find sweet spots. And I think we do that with guitars all the time,
Yeah.
We just, I mean, if maybe as a guitar player,
well, yeah,
or maybe with the vocal mic, you turn up the gain. Oh, now I hear myself. Oh, now I can sing quietly and make it sound huge. Or
we are inspired by what we hear back, and it's the same way with playing guitar.
Yeah.
And I always ask, and I think I've mentioned this before on one of the other podcasts we did, but I always ask the guitar player, how does that feel as you're playing it? Because the feel of it is directly related to.
And did you, like, just before you handed them the guitar, you rubbed butter all over the thing or something?
Spray it down with WD-40. How's this?
Ham or whatever.
Ham.
Isn't that the stuff you spray on your your pan? Why did they call it Pam? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like
must have been a person.
Yeah, I don't know. You would think they just call it pan.
Pan, right? Exactly. Or like slippy. I don't know.
Oh.
Slidey. That's what I would have called it.
But it's interesting. It's such an interesting process. I love recording drums, and I've been in my room now long enough that I know exactly what it's going to give me back, and I know where the secrets are of the room and how to get things to sound the way I want them to sound.
That's one of the benefits of sticking to a studio for a while. I think it's one of the benefits of sticking to anything for a while, because like no matter what you're doing, two things I've been thinking about a lot. No matter what you're doing, get started now, not when you think you know how to do it, because the only way you're going to get good is by screwing it up and doing it again over and over again. So you might as well just get started, because like I wrote this down the other day. If you don't do it, then you can't fix it.
That's right.
So if you're trying to like do it and fix it in your head, you're not actually getting forward.
No, you're right. You got to,
So like, I don't know, what was my analogy? What was the relation to? I guess it's like, stick to one studio, like pick your microphones, pick your plugins, pick your studio enough to get rolling, and then just do it on repeat so that you can start figuring out, how to do the drums in there, or figuring out, oh, this drum sounds good, this one doesn't, or hit this loud, or put the room mic in this spot in the room.
One of the things that I do is every time I'm done with a session or a project, I put everything away. I could leave it up and leave everything mic'd up. And in a scenario that I was talking about earlier, where I had 3 artists coming in over 3 days, I had to. You can't do a session and strike it and then get in there and kill yourself. But to me, the reason why I do that is so I don't get stagnant in how I'm hearing stuff. We hear stuff, we hear sounds, we chase sounds, and we get acclimated to things, and they become comfortable. It's like the guys that I've worked with know that if the snare and the kick don't sound good, I don't think the song sounds good.
Yeah.
Because I'm just accustomed to, I want the experience to be great as it comes out of the speakers.
Yeah. So
the only way that I've learned to deal with different sources is do some projects that I didn't think I wanted to do. When I open my room up, my room's not a commercial room. I don't run ads for it. It's like, come record your Bachelorette single with me.
You do have a great website though. So Rockstars, and we've got that in the show notes too. So if you want to click through and even see some of these great images of where Roger works.
Those are images that, and the site itself, or I had some friends did that for me, and I was blown away by it.
That's
But
Belltone Recording.
Or actually,
it's actually Roger Alan Nichols.
RogerAlanNichols.com, because I don't know. You know, Belltone might outlive me. It might not. I don't know. But yeah, so when I opened the room, it was like, this is not a commercial space. This is where I work. This is where I work on stuff and bring stuff in that I'm working on. But sometimes you have a lull between the projects and you still have to pay your bills. So, you know, it's, there's some projects that I do that I wouldn't necessarily seek out, but I'm so grateful for those projects because that's where you learn. You know, you can't just cherry pick your projects unless you're a trust fund kid or something, you know? Yeah, those are the biggest challenges, of getting stuff in a room that feels like a bit of a challenge, or that you may not be emotionally invested in, but still making sure that it gets across the finish line sounding great. Yeah. You know? Yeah. It's the stuff that makes the professionals professional, you know?
Indeed, man. Indeed. Well, I mean, I learned that when I started my studio, is starting a studio and like having that limitation on spending. In other words, like hitting a point where, I mean, early on when I was young and it was just me and I'd work, I'd basically just like, as long as I had a little bit of money for the rent and the food, everything else I made, I was just like on eBay browsing for some cool vintage piece of gear. And, you know, I kind of collected stuff that way for a bit. But then when I started my home studio here and committed, and it was like, okay, got to feed the family, you know, that changed everything for me in a really positive way.
Yeah.
And one of them was having like, okay, this is my space. This is my room. I got these mics. These are what I'm using.
Yeah.
So for a long time, it's been like that. And that limitation caused me to really begin to learn how to get sounds in that space instead of always trying new stuff, you know? Yeah. Because that analysis by, you know, paralysis by analysis, or, you know, like
very real.
Yeah. It's just too many things to choose from, and you're never like figuring something out.
That's why, you know, I used to have a ton of guitars, and I've got rid of all of them except for the hammer, the chisel, the screwdriver, you know.
Nice.
And, you know.
Flathead and Phillips?
Flathead and Phillips, yes.
There you go, man.
So it's like, if I need a particular sound, I'm going to grab an instrument.
The T5, man.
Ooh, I don't know.
You guys forgetting the little tiny star screws.
Oh, yeah. That's what
I think.
I do. I think I have one of those. I've got a little luge Fender Strat.
Maybe that's the new. Last time I was there, you had this cool ass guitar. It's a rubber bridge guitar. Tell us about that thing.
Oh man, there's a guy in town who's an amazing guitar player, but he also makes them. And I did. A friend of mine, Tyler Bryant, had a rubber bridge guitar, and I was like, wow, what is this? You know, and then as soon as I played it, I think, oh, this is what Phoebe Bridgers used. You know, you know exactly where that sound kind of like started to grab a hold. And I loved it. It was so fun. So this band from the Cayman Islands, I was doing a single on them. And I actually ended up cutting 3 songs on them. But there was one song that was cut with a ukulele. And I said, guys, that's kind of where I draw the line. I'm not going to record a ukulele.
In a hot tub.
I was just like, man, you know, there's some really great songs out there that have ukulele, and every time I hear a song that uses a ukulele, I go to those songs, and it's just, I was like, we got to do something that's different and something that, you know. So I started thinking about this rubber bridge guitar. So I called Tyler, and I'm like, hey, can I borrow your? And sure enough, man, he lent me the guitar, and it was like playing a baritone ukulele. It was just really thuddy like a ukulele, but it allowed you to do the voicings that you wanted to hear, and it worked great in a track. So I called this guy in town, and he said, yeah, I've got one here that I just finished, and it's an old Stella, and it sounds so cool. As soon as I got,
so it's like that kind of flat top plywood.
Yeah. It's a very cheap guitar. What he does is
small body guitar.
If the bracing's messed up, he'll take the top off, work on the bracing, put the top back on. He'll put the rubber bridge in. He puts a single coil footprint humbucker in.
Oh, cool.
And direct wires it to the output.
Is the nut on the other end just a normal nut?
Yeah, just a normal nut.
End of the fretboard?
Yeah, just a normal nut. So it's a usable guitar. It's just very clunky sounding and very dead and immediate. The second I got the one I bought from him, the second I got it home, I wrote 3 songs just right away because it was such an unusual sound.
Yeah.
So inspiring and just
it's
bizarre.
weird. It's like, because it doesn't sustain really long.
No, it doesn't sustain.
So it's like you get the plunk and it's got like a thuddy thing. So it's not super bright.
Right.
But it also, because of the small body and the flat top, it's not too deep. It's not too much low end.
There's not too much low end. And also how you play it. Like there's one song I recorded with Bradford Loomis. We had written this song, and the way that I was playing it, it almost sounds like a piano part. Dun, dun, dun. It almost sounds like it just sounds very piano-esque. And it's just really a cool little, this is the other thing I like about it too. It's short scale. So you can get away with some chord inversions that you might not go to. You can put weirder voicings in a grouping of chords and be able to pull that off easier than you can if you've got a wider spacing. It's quicker to do this and go through.
Right, it's easier to reach with your fingers.
Yeah,
right?
So if you've got a chord sequence and you've got like one chord that's really unusual in a larger scale guitar or on a regular scale neck, sometimes those inversions are hard to pull off. Yeah. You got to practice and make sure you get the voicing right, or that's not going to work. I have to change it again. But with that smaller, shorter scale, you can fly through those and you can throw the oddball chords in, and you're not reaching for anything. It's not uncomfortable.
Easier.
It's all like right there.
I like playing guitars that are easy to play.
Man.
Dreaming of a career in audio or the entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs where you'll learn on professional-grade gear with industry pros, learning through real projects, not just lectures. Explore studio production, live sound, audio for film, and a whole lot more. Or take the entertainment business program to learn about contracts, promotion, and more. With diploma, associate, and bachelor's programs, there's a path for you. Book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. It's funny how we'll put up with a really difficult to play guitar for a long time. I still do it, And some guitars just have the sound. You're like, I guess I'm just going to have to work hard for this one.
I think that by nature of being an engineer or a producer or in this business, I feel like we're masochists to begin with. So, sure, I want to work really hard on this song that's not going to, ever go anywhere.
Hey, so you mentioned the imposter syndrome, and for some reason I just remembered that you had worked with, Steven Tyler, for example, and I don't know if you had a chance to hang out with him, but were there, my first thought was like, I wonder if Steven Tyler, still has to deal with imposter syndrome, at that level of success and stuff like that. And I don't know if there would be a story for you about that, but maybe tell us about that session again too, or were there any other things that Steven sort of said, or when you were hanging out with him where you were just like, wow, man, I had no idea.
Well, he did. What blew me away was how excited he was about continuing creating. First of all, he did an amazing job at making everyone comfortable in a room. So to the point that, 15 minutes into the session, you're not thinking about, oh, that's Steven Tyler. You're thinking about this guy you're working with, So he did an amazing job at that.
That's cool.
I have found, okay, so let me switch people. Let me switch scenarios. I just finished Hayley Williams' new record.
Yeah.
So her and Daniel James, who is the producer and co-writer on this record, she called me and said, hey, I think I've got a record and I want to come talk to you about doing it at your studio. I was like, please come on by.
That's awesome.
So she came by and Daniel came by and loved, I love Hayley to death. She's just great.
And you worked with her for a long time.
Since
the invention of Paramore.
Yeah, since 2004.
Right? Yeah.
And Daniel was just unbelievable. He's such a great guy to hang out with and just really super talented. But it was, you take something like this. This is Hayley's first, it's not her first solo record. She did 2 during the pandemic. But this is the first one that she's doing on her own label called Post Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some conversation initially about where the record was going to land once it was done. And I was just really excited to see that she decided to do it independently. And when Hayley has nothing that she needs to prove. She is, she's just a world-class singer. She's an unbelievable musician. Like on this record, she played drums, she played bass, she played some guitar. She's all over the place and handles it all proficiently and really, really, really freaking great. She has nothing to prove, but she sat in that room and worked her butt off, and I think that when you're in the pursuit of something sonically, or you're trying to write a song, or there's a vision that you're trying to chase as an artist, I feel like there are insecurities in those decisions to create art because people are going to judge it. But you take someone like Hayley, and the pursuit is relentless because she is an artist. She's not thinking about that stuff. She's not thinking about the insecurities or any of the other stuff that might, seep into the creation process. I'm assuming that. I might be completely wrong.
But it's that focus.
It's the focus.
She got the idea, the vision, focus, and pursue it till you get it.
She's saying every vocal sitting down in this chair, cross-legged.
Really?
Yeah. Just put a U67 in front, right there, right beside me in the studio.
Oh, that's cool.
And she would just sit there like this, and just sing, so relaxed, but sing her butt off. I mean, she's fierce.
Do you guys get in that, I imagine you do, you get in that mind speak. It's like where you can be sitting there and you don't have to say things in words anymore. You just know, it's do it again. It's listen, it's do it again.
Yeah. Yeah,
let's get that one again or whatever.
Again, this project I just engineered. So I played guitar on one song, I think, one or two.
Yeah, but still, if you're running the Pro Tools for her.
But if I'm running the Pro Tools, if you're engineering a record, you don't, who you're listening to is the producer and the artist.
Yeah.
So you're kind of, you're not. If you're producing something,
Daniel's in there also.
Daniel's in there too.
Giving feedback.
Yes, Daniel's through the whole process, and so you're listening to that. You're paying attention to that. It's not about, I wasn't going to make a decision. Oh, that's good. Let's keep my. It's not my role.
Right. But even so, there's when we engineer something, there's an opportunity to over communicate. And there's an opportunity to under communicate, and there's an opportunity to communicate just the right amount,
Yeah, I think when you get in a room, all right, let's just talk from an engineering standpoint for a minute. When you get in the room and you mic and everything up, and the band is coming into work or the artist is coming into work, there is always uncertainty. Like, I hope the room is fine. I hope they're comfortable.
I hope my shit works.
I hope my shit works. I hope that, I have the right coffee or whatever. So you're thinking about all this stuff, and then you get through the first couple of songs, and then you start to really understand the rhythm and the expectations, and it gets easier to anticipate the needs based upon, it's called reading the room. Right. Right. And you got to be able to read the room and be able to take the temperature of the people you're working with and pay attention to that. Big time.
And it's hard. It's tricky. I was thinking about that because I just made a record for a couple of days with my friends in a new studio with an old friend, and it was, we keep relearning over and over the dynamic of the group, and especially as we introduce new people to work with, it shifts the dynamic and it changes. And I have to learn to hold on to my vision for what I'm trying to do with the music. Yeah. But then also accept and leave room for alternate visions for what this whole thing could be, because I'm working with other people, and it's a tricky thing. But in the essence of all that is this idea you're saying, read the room. Like, it's being able to just like understand when is the right time to, stand up for what you need on something, stick to your guns, or when is the right time to just step back and just be like, cool, just do your thing, man.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why there's roles in the studio: a producer, an engineer, an assistant engineer, a band leader, blah blah blah. Those guys, every role has a purpose.
Yeah.
And the thing that is so beautiful when all those roles work well, when the flow is great, when everyone knows everyone and they're comfortable with the roles and they know what to do, because the session becomes lighter.
Yeah.
There's not one guy in a room freaking out, cussing under his breath because something is not, it's like everything just kind of moves a little easier.
Yeah.
And I love that. I often work alone because of the way I work in the setup. So, but I love it when you get in a room with people that know their jobs and do it well. And just at that point, it's a lot of fun. You know?
Yeah.
And I think those traditional roles have changed so much. The way music is made now, the way that things are happening, those roles have changed. They've kind of morphed. They're all kind of the same thing now.
Right. You're playing all of them. Sometimes you're playing the artist as the creator. And I don't know. I don't remember if you sing often on stuff, but I know you playing guitar and playing bass and programming and
I'll squawk when I'm writing.
Right.
When I'm writing with an artist, because I'm not afraid to sing a melody if I'm trying to get a point across.
Yeah.
But it's nothing you want to waste setting up a mic for.
You sound pretty good on the mic today.
Oh, well, what kind of mic is this?
Oh, this is the Mic Tech PM10. Why, I'm glad you asked, Roger. So this is from Mic Tech, and that's Michael Ketchell's company here in Nashville. And for 10 years, I've used the exact same microphones on the podcast, the PM9.
Nice.
And I remember shooting out a bunch of options early on. I checked out the Heil mics. I checked out the SM7. And I had the PM9s, and I just liked the way it sounded a lot. Yeah. I mean, maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I liked it on my own voice, but I know it sounded great on guests too. But there was a clip, and with this whole setup, even just typing and doing things here was sending a shock up the boom arm, and it was getting into the mic, and I was starting to notice it in mixing, and it was becoming a bit of an issue. And so I reached out to Michael, and I was like, "Hey man, do you guys have like a shock mount or anything?" And he was like, well, I'm glad you called because I wanted to tell you. You remember that that PM10 with the whole podcasting shock mount rig on it that you have? He's like, that is what it's for. It's a really great sounding mic. And I was like, yeah, thanks, man, thanks. So, I've got my mic.
Yeah, I've got it all.
I've got my mic. I got it all figured out. I don't want to change things. He was like, I'm telling you, man. We were thinking like that, and we tested it all out, and the PM10 is the same mic as the PM9, except there's a couple of little tiny changes, and a lot of people have tested it and love it and think it sounds way better. So I was like, all right, man, all right, I'll check it out. And I did it. I ran up like full-on test, and it was hard because I had to okay, all right, I got all these other things going on, but I'll test the mic. It should be as easy as like plug into, does that sound good? Does that sound good? But of course, in real world for me, it's like, okay, well, I got to hook it up with the whole rig, actually test them, actually record it the way I record it, actually throw it into my mix template, and then compare.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm like so conscious of like, I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to make it sound worse by accident. I want to make it sound as good or better each time. And I did it. It sounded great. So I was like, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mic Tech. So this is the PM10.
Love it.
So it's really cool. It's like a short body mic too, but it's great. I mean, it's like now I'm not going to punch the desk, but I could.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Hey, I got to tell you an interesting discovery. There was a mic that we used in this sample library that I've never used before. That was really fun to use. It's an SE microphone, and it was called the 702, I believe. Mm-hmm. Or 702i or something like that. And Jeff recommended we use it. So when I normally mic a snare drum, I mic it with a 57 and an SM81. Mm-hmm. I love that combination. The SM81.
Oh, SM81s are great.
The combination of that to me is the snare sound I like, an SM81 and a 57, and then either a 414 or a 57 underneath.
And the SM81 gives you a little bit of that crispy,
more chest. It's more
chest.
more chest, more like that whack. Yeah. So anyways, Jeff was like, hey, let's try this. So we shot it out. I put it in there and I was like, oh, it sounded very, very similar to the SM81. It just had a little more top end in it. And then I noticed something differently. And I called SE to talk to the tech about this because I was so intrigued. So the way that we recorded, when we'd go to capture the snare, we'd get 8 velocities. So Jeff would play, he would do probably 4 passes at 8 velocities. And I would find the best combination of those, right? And, when you record a snare drum, when you're, increasing your velocity, the waveform gets bigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was that way on all of the mics except the SE. So the SE would have, on the softer impacts, you would have, you'd see the increase, and then it would get to a certain point, and it would stay at that point.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's still like I would solo the snare, and I'd listen to it, and you could hear the increased velocity. You could hear that. You could hear Jeff increasing, his impact, but it didn't. On the waveform, it was just a straight. I was really fascinated.
What's the model again? SE?
SE, I think it's an SE 702i, I think it is.
702i. And was it a dynamic mic or
yes,
something?
Dynamic mic.
So maybe it physically, it hits a limitation of physical diaphragm movement.
Maybe.
And maybe somehow they've got some way that it's like it can limit the movement without distorting it or something. So you get that combination.
Where it went to where I instantly was like, oh, I know how this can be used. Because there's nothing worse than a drummer that has inconsistent snare hits.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, there's a rim shot. There's one outside of the sweet spot. There's one in the sweet spot. Oh, look, another rim shot. There's nothing says I'm an amateur drummer than that.
Yeah.
Or not an amateur drummer. I'm sorry. That's inappropriate. Not amateur drummer, just not a session player.
Right.
Session drummers learn how to do that, and they understand the consistency and all that.
And it comes from knowing that microphones are like magnifying glasses, and those differences, we can call them inconsistencies, but just those differences in hitting become revealed through the recording process in a way that when you play it back, you might be like, oh wait, that's not what I meant to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you're performing something, there's, you're performing. And
right, you're putting energy in, enthusiasm in. It's just that it's translating into potentially distraction because the drum sound is changing.
Right. Look, if a drummer if the song, if it doesn't pull differently from the song, if it doesn't pull you out of the listening experience, it's fine. The inconsistencies are fine.
Right.
And there are certain styles of music where that is, you want that. You want the inconsistencies and, but there are other times when you don't. And there's other times when you have a drummer in the studio that might be a young drummer and have a difficulty with his velocities. Hence the SE 702i, I think might be the perfect solution for that. So I'm excited to try that next time if there's any drummers I record and I say, oh my gosh, you got the SE 702 out. Don't take that as an insult. I'm not forecasting anything, it just is what it is.
That's awesome. Hey, rock stars. Writing and recording your next great song just got a whole lot easier with Complete 15 from Native Instruments. This powerful toolkit gives you everything from deep sound design to instant musical ideas. Contact 8 introduces creative features like the new chords tool, letting you generate and customize compelling chord progressions without needing to know music theory, making it perfect for songwriting. And the phrases tool helps you find fresh melodic lines on the spot. With over 165 instruments and more than 150,000 sounds, Massive X battery and Guitar Rig 7 Pro, you've got everything you need to create in any genre. You can shape your ideas into real music fast. Whether you're sketching an idea or finishing a full production, Complete 15 keeps you in the creative flow from first note to final mix. Add your Complete Control keyboard or machine hardware to the mix for seamless integration and hands-on control. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, rock stars. We're back now for the jam session, aka the second half of the show. My guest is Roger Alan Nichols, joining us here at
Here you go.
Ready to Rock Studios. Are you ready to rock?
I'm ready.
And then, but see, now that I say that, I'm like, and then I go, are you ready to jam? And I'm like, wait, that's so confusing. Are we jamming or rocking? It's like a mixed metaphor, right?
Well, sometimes you have to jam to rock.
Sometimes you have to jam to rock. Indeed.
And sometimes when you rock, you jam.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a big deal.
All right, cool. So let's talk about other fun stuff in the studio. I think one of the things that we got to do together in the past couple of years, which was really fun for me too, was launching the MBSI plugin.
Oh yeah,
Make
that's a
Believe
great
Studios.
plugin, man.
Yeah, that was the one that we made from my old
MCI.
mixing console from the MCI. And then you were kind enough to be on the kind of launch team with us and get that guy tested out and get your presets in there and stuff.
I love
like
it, man. That is a great plugin, dude. I use it. It doesn't sit in my folder. I actually use it.
What has been kind of cool to use on?
I love it on guitars.
Yeah.
I love the EQ on the guitars.
Doesn't, when I listened to it, it reminded me, it just made me think, I'm like, oh, cool. Joe Walsh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got that kind of, I don't know. It puts
the
a little
top
bit
end.
of, it's the top end and it kind of soaks up the guitar sound nicely. I definitely loved recording, with the console. One of my favorite things was how it also handled the drums,
Yeah.
the way it a snare kind of splats into it,
Yeah. Where is that console now?
It's still in East Nashville. It's actually not far away. It's at Retro Gear Shop.
Did he move to East Nashville?
Yeah, he's in East Nashville. He's got a workshop, a warehouse, or a showroom. That's the word I'm looking for.
What's his name again? His name
Mark
is
Schwartzman.
So
real visionary dude, because he's really started a whole showroom space and really collected a lot of cool gear. And he's just doing that thing where he's like making sure that all this historic gear is still circulating among studios and people like that.
Yeah.
So I applaud it. I mean, when I had that console, I felt like,
There's an obligation.
Yeah, there was an obligation. I felt like I had a responsibility to protect a piece of history and make sure that when I was done with it, it went to a new home where it was going to be used respectfully,
Yeah.
So it is.
I love that. Mark is doing,
You introduced me to him, actually.
yeah, he bought a limiter from me. I had a limiter that I wasn't using. I would use it twice a year.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, and you know how you sometimes, when you get out to sea and you start getting hungry and you don't have any food left, you got to sacrifice one of the children.
Right. I remember doing that. I remember selling my Neve 1079 way back when. But it was fine. In the end, I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I thought it was the thing that I really needed. And I was like, I was fine. I started making better records anyway. Not because that wasn't a great piece of gear. It is. And of course, I'd love to have it back. But because, to our point earlier, you realize that like you could just have the cheapest interface and the cheapest mics and learn how to use them really well.
That's right.
And make a better record than you had made previously, just because you're learning better methods and techniques. What about for you, man? Like, what are, at this stage, I mean, like, you have a lot of experience with the equipment, the gear, the performers, all of that, making records. But what are new things for you that you have, in your experience, you've learned better ways to make records? Like, what has been a new exploration for you?
That's good. That's a really good question.
Even if it's like the songwriting, the production, even if it's the people, even if it's the, invoicing strategy, whatever it is, the location.
This is going to be an odd comment to make, but I do work with a lot of different artists, a lot of indie artists, and I have stuff come to me on quite a bit that comes out of the left field.
You got people messaging you to make records from Norway and Switzerland.
Well, you can't control who's going to read the credits. You can't control. The only thing you can control is the quality of your work,
right?
And then hope that it connects with other people,
right?
And that's the only thing you can control. But I think the thing that I'm really drawn to more and more and more as I do this is the singer has got to be special.
Right.
If the singer isn't special, or shows that potential or has a quality to their voice that is, that is like, oh, this is going to be really good. I feel like, unless it's something that's a real character type thing, that's the thing that is, I'm leaning heavier and heavier on the further down the road I get.
It's because we respond, when we listen, the first thing we respond to is the voice.
That's right. And the voice is probably one of the most subjective things. I've had friends bring me artists before saying, wait till you hear this singer. And I'll listen to it and I'll go, yeah, it's a pretty average singer.
You were like, I was happy when I was waiting.
It's a very subjective thing.
Right.
And I think that the setting, like you can have a voice, that's a total character voice, not a quality voice, but a character voice.
Yeah.
I look at singers two different ways, quality and character, right? There's, you take someone like, Adele. I mean, she is a quality singer. She is, but she also has a little bit of vibe to the way that she sings and stuff that makes it uniquely her.
She's a cool person. I've worked with. I've recorded her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she was just like as a person, she was a cool character.
Where'd you is it Bonnaroo?
Yeah, she came in and she had a cold.
Wow. And
she came in and I got to record her singing Chasing Pavements, which was like her.
Yeah.
To me, that was her breakout track.
Yep, it was her breakout.
I knew about. And I loved that track, and so it was really cool. And she still sang her ass off,
Yeah, you take a singer like that and you're not really you're not worried too much about the vintage mic that you're putting in front of her. You just want to make sure that you get something that's going to capture it because it's going to be amazing. Not that a vintage mic wouldn't be bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I had an SM7 on her.
Oh man!
I just hope I remembered to clean the beard hairs off of the pop filter before she had to sit down in front of it. All these details as an engineer. And because I probably had the crazy beard at that point. It might have been just before it, but also
I remember that beard, man.
This is a mic that I chose for Bonnaroo because it sort of universally worked on so many different voices. So who knows who was in there singing, an hour before for the previous session,
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sure it was fine.
It's interesting. I just did a single on this duo and I had, they're two girls. I had the singer use a 57 on her voice, an SM57 and, or not a 57, SM7B.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, normally it's like, yeah, that's a very dependable mic. Sounds great. It's very easy to mix that mic.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was listening to the track, I'm going, that's the wrong mic for her.
Right.
So I had her come back. I called her and said, hey, can you come back and sing? Well, yeah, why do you want me to re-sing it? I want to use a different mic. And I put up the 47 and she sang into that. And she goes, oh, I see now why you, but it had, if the track was different, the SM7B would have been perfect. But the way this track sounded, the way the track had kind of blossomed, it didn't work. And that was interesting to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
We often don't think about that kind of stuff. You go, oh yeah, we're going to use this and this. And
well, and I've had the reverse happen. I've put up my vintage Neumann U67 in front of a singer in the studio. Well, this is the expensive mic, this is the one that should sound great. And then they sing, and on a band track where there's a lot of guitars and things like that, I would notice, why is it not working? I feel like the vocal, I'd hear some of the top of the vocal, maybe even hear some of the bottom, but the mid-range would sort of scoop away somehow. It would like the essence of the vocal would disappear into the music instead of sitting out on top of it.
Yeah.
And I started to realize that an SM7 or sometimes a dynamic mic or sometimes just simply trying a different mic would fix that because it would allow the vocal to sit forward. And I don't know if it's just because of the mid-range coming forward or if it's because of also it's a dynamic mic, which is competing with other dynamic mics, guitars. Maybe that's why we like 57s on guitars, because they make the guitars just come forward in the mids.
Yeah.
So it's that combination. Space, time, and recorded music is relative, right?
Well, I'll tell you the most eye-opening lesson I learned would have been in 99, I think it was 1999. Our band was working with a producer, Chubba Pettix, and Chubba was from Australia. Chubba's CSABA. Chubba is no longer with us, unfortunately. He was a brilliant engineer, super nice guy, just a great guy. So our band had tracked, he was doing, I think, 3 or 4 sides on us. And our band had moved to Woodland Digital, and we were in the A room.
Oh, man.
I know, this is when
That's right. I interned at Woodland.
Oh, man. I love that A room.
What year was it?
99.
Oh, it was just after I interned there in like 95. So I was there before you got there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what a trip.
Man, that's a great room. That A room is incredible. And I know Gil and Dave are probably doing, they're doing great stuff in that room. I'm sure it's got to be a dream to have that room because it just sounds unbelievable.
Yeah.
But what I remember from Chubba is we rented a 47, a 67, a 251, and I think we had an 87 in there. So we were shooting out these mics, and we ended up going with, I think it was a 47 is what we ended up, out of the high-end mics. Mm-hmm. That's what we went with. So,
and they had awesome mics at Woodland.
Yeah, he brought stuff in. We rented, I think it was through, one of the rental companies.
Right.
But anyways, what happened is Ty, our singer was Tyrone, and Ty got up to sing, and Chubb was going, he's going, man, can you put more character in, and Ty would try to put more, and Chubba just kept scratching his head, and he goes, can you do me a favor? I want you to do this. I want you to hold this mic and sing. So he goes out there, he plugs in a 57 and has him hold it and sing. And all of a sudden the vocal was like, there it is.
Right.
The lesson being, depending on the singer that you're dealing with, some singers are more experienced and aren't concerned about what is in front of them. Mm-hmm. But sometimes if you put up a really expensive mic or something that is a little like, oh, what is this? It can shut a singer down. It can make a singer say, oh, now I have to sing proper.
Right.
You know? And that, isn't necessarily what works.
We were just talking about that. So my buddy Chris was singing this weekend, and we did one of the songs we were working on, where we did a few takes of it. And we were doing an acoustic session. It was so much fun because it was acoustic, no headphones. So we're all close enough. And another thing I noticed is like, wow, my ears weren't ringing after the session. Yeah. Everything's sort of like quiet and chill level. But he was singing on a fancy mic, and so that combination, it wasn't just strictly the fancy mic, but it was also the like, all right, we're going to make this take better than the last one. So I think we all kind of like stepped into character a little more. But what happened is we went too far. It's like the song needed to have that relaxed quality of being around the kitchen table when we wrote it and recorded it with the iPhone.
Yeah.
Another great reason to capture the demo, right?
Yep.
It's just like, don't forget what your roots are. Like, where'd this inspiration come from?
That's right.
That's like a David Lynch topic. Like, he talked about that in his book, Catching the Big Fish. This idea of like, make sure you capture that initial idea, because in the working of the project, it's very easy to like wander away from it. And the more you can keep referencing that original reference, it's helpful. It's like, check the demo, check the demo. Make sure you didn't walk away. Check the rough mix,
It's the lighthouse.
Yeah. But it's the same thing. We went a little too far, and then I was like, hey, you know what? I noticed we're like starting to maybe you're singing louder now than and I'm playing the acoustic louder, but we're losing where that sound was. And so anyway, the next take we like chilled it out, and I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
That was beautiful. But same kind of idea, right? It's like the confidence to just stay in the zone with the song and not let the external situation and the mics and the studio throw you off balance.
Yeah, Hayley said, Hayley can afford to go anywhere she wants. Here I am 4 doors down from Blackbird. And, but Hayley was like, I want to record in your room because it doesn't feel like I'm in a studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I hear that more from people that record all the time. If it's your first couple times in the studio or whatever, it's fun to be in where it feels like a more of a not clinical, but more of a proper setting, and because that's part of the experience. It's like, oh my gosh, but it's it was interesting. The move, choosing the mic, the setting, all of that stuff makes all the difference in the world.
Hey, rock stars, when it's time to finish your music, Isotope Ozone 12 gives you the powerful new tools to master with confidence. The new bass control helps you balance your low-end EQ, sustain, and punch so that your tracks translate everywhere. Unlimiter restores clarity and impact to overcompressed mixes, and Stem EQ lets you rebalance vocals, drums, and bass using only the stereo mix file. When it's time to push loudness, Ozone's new IRC5 Maximizer delivers clean and powerful competitive masters that stay open and musical. And with an updated mastering assistant that guides, not decides, you can move faster, make better decisions, and stay fully in control from start to finish. Go to isotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Yeah, I always think of setting up for tracking sessions and getting rolling on sessions. It's like building the machine. You kind of create this machine that you have to work with. And, if we're lucky, we get out of the gates right away and we're comfortable with the machine right off the bat. But a lot of times it takes a minute before we have to forget about the machine,
Yeah, you got to be in a moment. You got to, absolutely.
And then we get there, and then sometimes it's the next song or it's the next day or something. You come in and it's like, oh, you're comfortable with this, which we did. We came in the next day and it was rainy and we recorded the next song and it was like, oh, we're all just relaxed now in front of these microphones. Yeah. We're just confident that it works, so we don't think about it anymore.
Yeah, that's a good feeling. That is a good feeling. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's see. What about you? What about any fun new outboard gear you've been messing with in the studio? And did we complete that thought on what was new for you in the process? I forgot. Sometimes I interrupt when with a joke or something. You were talking about the singer, choosing a great singer.
Choosing a great singer, or working with a great singer, is always makes the job easier.
Yeah. Anything, and that is sort of an external, like making sure you're choosing the right team, really.
Yeah.
Right. Anything internal you feel like you discovered about yourself and like rediscovering in your own process?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I think I'm my hardest and worst critic.
Yeah, we all are, aren't we?
Yeah,
Right?
it's so I'm always reevaluating. I think what it is I've gotten a little more fearless about stuff.
Yeah.
I finished a write on Friday with an artist, and we got a song, and I remember as we were writing the song thinking, there's something about, sometimes you might hit a wall with a line, and what I do if I'm in the middle of a write with someone, I want it to be moving.
Right.
There are times when you sit and think and process stuff, and that's great. I think you need that little bit of quiet.
But stuck is not all that helpful, right?
When you're hitting the wall with a line in particular, and it gets to, and as you start to chisel away on a line, it's not uncommon for lines to start coming that are like, that's pretty good. It's not quite right.
Right.
What I'll do is I'll park the line in the song. Okay, we're leaving this here.
Use the pretty good but not quite right line. Yeah.
And then just ear tag it. Go, okay, we're going to. And for me, the defining moment is hearing the singer sing the line.
Right.
Because you could have a line that might feel like, that line feels a little underbaked, but you hear a great performance of it and you go, oh, it's the thing you got to be careful of when you work with a great singer.
Yeah.
You got to be careful to make sure that your lyrics are buttoned up, because it's really easy to overlook it. What I do is, like in this scenario, so what happened is I ended up calling the artist over the weekend saying, we got to tweak this line. And the artist was like, okay, great. I'll see you. Let's book the studio time and I'll come in and re-sing it. And I was like, that's great. Thank you. I said, I know that this will scratch an itch that is important. And so I'm learning to, what I've learned to do is to just be honest and pay attention to my gut on stuff.
Yeah.
And then not be afraid to say, no, this is not good enough.
Well, and I feel like that's the thing I've learned for myself too is don't get trapped by moments. Move quickly through stuff. So like if it's a songwriting, if you've got a sketch of a song, great, move on to the next one. That was something I learned from you actually too. Remember when I was doing Skadoosh and you came in and I was working with Corey and we came back from lunch and you were like, here's what I want you guys to do. Play an idea of a song. And maybe I was just on guitar and it was like, just come up with an idea right now. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, how about this? And you're like, cool, that's great. Okay, next one. I'm like, oh, yeah. And so we like lay down 9 new ideas really fast. And then that was plenty. Like you didn't have to worry about whether any of them were any good or anything. Then I just listened back to the 9 and I didn't take forever working on them. So it wasn't hard to listen back to all 9.
Yeah.
But then certain elements, oh, that's pretty good. Cool. Yeah. Oh, why don't you work up that one? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can work that one up. Yeah. And it's like keeping that snappiness keeps the ideas rolling. And so like if we get stuck on a line, like you're saying, just park it in there. I mean, at some point you got to make a decision. So you don't want to trap yourself like later where you're like, you finish a record and you're like, oh, that line just sucked.
Well, it's the thing, there's a trend I'm seeing that people want to work quick.
Yeah.
Fast, now. And I hate that, man.
Right.
I'm just like, man, I don't like that. I feel like there are times when you do need to be, come on, let's make a decision, and the math involved in whether that needs to be done quickly or not quickly is contingent on what the problem is.
Right.
And the setting and all of that stuff. But I will think about stuff and rethink through stuff because I want stuff to be the best it can be. And I've learned over the years to know when to pull the foot off the gas. It's like, okay, well, that's too, and when not to. And it's all instinctual.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the more stuff you work on, the more stuff you listen to, you start to understand how that influences your judgment and your instincts. And the point I'm at right now in my life, I've got a pretty long trail behind me in regards to stuff that I've worked on and stuff that I listen to. And you start to kind of discover how that influences your decisions.
Right.
I want all of that stuff to mean something when I make a decision about a song or a decision about a recording or a line in a song or a part. And sometimes you just got to think about it, you know?
Yeah.
But when you're working with someone in the room, you can see the dead behind the eyes appear and go, okay, we got to keep this moving.
Right.
And so there's, you know, when you plug a line in to get over the hurdle, I'm not letting that line go. I'm going, okay, we're going to come back and visit this.
That's what highlighter's for, right? Just like little code for like, remember to check this one later.
I did 4 sides on an artist for a record that is coming out in a month, I think it is. The first singles come out.
It'll be out already.
It'll be out. Yeah, it'll already be out when. So in this project, I had the artist. This is a project I was producing. I was an artist, and we also had a co-writer. And a co-writer is a friend of mine who's I've known for years. He's a brilliant writer, and he's a great guy. And I did something. We did something that I like to do quite a bit, but it was a bit of a surprise to the co-writer. Is we finished the songs. We had the songs picked that we were going to record. They were cleared by management and all ready to go. And I called the co-writer in. I said, okay, come on in. I said, I've got some lines here that keep catching my ear, and we got to tweak these lines. I'm not going to do it by myself. I want you in a room with me to do it so that we can talk through the process. And we did. We sat and we went through all the lines, everything, and then we changed 4 or 5 things in a context of 4 songs. And it was great. It was exactly what we needed to do. And so I'm getting, that's kind of where my head is when we rush, it's easy to go, yeah, this is great. And then, you know, the good thing about rushing is you get stuff done. Mm-hmm. And the little quirks that happen become a part of the ingredients in the soup. Mm-hmm. But there's too much mediocre shit in this world.
Right. So don't rush to mediocrity.
Yeah, there's, you know, no one's there. I know as an artist, there's a desire to put out content. You have to. It's just the way it is now. It's got to be consistent, and you got to. But the rushing to get that done, I think, can be more detrimental to your career than maybe taking a couple of days and rethinking something. Mm-hmm. You know, you just got to do it.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a total balancing act.
It's a complete 100% balancing act. It's a pain in the butt.
I know it never gets. I mean, I want to say it gets easier, but it keeps getting. Sometimes it gets harder, and it's like the only thing that gets is you know, that experience of knowledge that like, well, it'll be good. You know, that it will get through it. Sometimes sessions still remain hard, and you just kind of got to suffer through the stuff that's difficult, and then you come out on the other end. I think the thing that gets easier is to come out on the other end and give everybody a hug when it's over, because it's like, you're just like, this is just what we do, you know?
Again, no lives are lost. You're creating art, and there's a certain part of it that is that you throw to the wind because it's collaborative.
Right.
You know, it's a collaborative experience. I noticed something the other day that was really funny. So when I listen to or mix a song, one of the things to me that is most important is where the snare sits and how it sounds. Mm-hmm. Over the last...
Yeah, chest is a word I learned from you, too.
Oh, it's just, you know, 136. That's the frequency.
That's awesome.
136, you narrow that and you boost it, and there's the chest, you know, 136.
I'm writing it down. 136 hertz.
Hertz.
In a good way. It hurts so good.
So I'm a very snare-centric mixer and producer. I love to feel that backbeat, and it's always intrigued me. I wonder how that happened. So I had to review some content for a project. So I had to listen, I had to source. I'd listened to some '80s stuff, some '80s music, because this one particular project had that kind of a slant to it, and I started laughing because it occurred to me. The '80s were a very formative decade for me. I was doing a shit ton of recording on 4 tracks, and had branched into working in studios, and was touring quite a bit and doing a ton of writing. So if you listen to songs in the '80s compared to songs that are more, contemporary recordings, the bottom end is a little more anemic, and the snare is so present. And the bottom end is anemic because they were still printing LPs at the time. So when you master for an LP, the bottom end can't be as big as it would be for a CD because the needle will jump, or you'll need to use a thicker grain.
Right. Right.
So the mastering process for LPs, the bottom end always gets truncated. So.
Yeah.
And I don't think in the '80s, I don't think that they were, okay, this is a mix for mastering for CDs, and this is a mix and mastering for LP. They weren't mastering. I don't think that they transitioned to that as the '80s came about. But I feel like the way that records were mastered then, where the bottom end is a little more anemic, puts the attention more on the snare. Yeah. And I think that was probably a fundamental thing for my development and listening, and how I want to hear songs.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think it's good for us to be self-aware of why we are trying to make records in a certain way because of how we've been influenced by music that we like. Because we start out as taste experts first. Yeah. We have like this level of interest in music, and that drives us to want to make it. And then over time, we learn how to create music that levels up to match our level of taste.
Yeah.
And so the more we can be aware of where our taste is coming from, the better, And even if our taste is changing, it's like probably being aware of, why is it changing? What am I doing? What am I listening to?
Yeah. The difference between being a musician and you chase a tone, for example. You have a guitar player. It's like, man, I'm using this Marshall in this cabinet and on this guitar because that's the sound I want. And so you're chasing something that is a signal chain that is recorded, a gazillion times through the history of recorded music. And so we kind of have this idea of what that sound is and how to get that sound. When you're young, you sit in front of your amp and you go, oh man, it just doesn't sound like it does on a record. And you wonder why. Right. And it's like the things you don't think about you don't think about the player, the quality of the voicings and how a player sounds when they play an acoustic instrument. You don't think about, the mic's a part of the equation.
Yeah.
The preamp's a part of the equation. The compressor's a part of the equation.
The pick's a part of the equation.
The pick, the way it was mastered, the way it was mixed, the EQs, and there's
the guitar. Just choosing the right guitar in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many, like if someone's playing a Les Paul, you can get close to that sound by pulling a Les Paul off but if it's a really special Les Paul, there's a part of that equation that you're not going to be able to come across unless you spend the money on a really nice Les Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I learned that recently just getting a new SG for the studio. It's like the difference in the P90 pickups versus the humbucker pickups is a big difference.
Huge, yeah.
So you have to go study a little bit of that stuff. Mm-hmm. You have to go, it's one of the beauties of the fact that we've got YouTube now, is you can go, somebody hopefully has done a demo with some of the different sounds of different things. And so I'll just go quickly go through and watch a bunch of those and start to quickly get a feel for it. But in the end, going and playing the instrument yourself really helps.
Yeah.
You got to hear it through an amp.
And you got to know what, you got to be able, if you're sitting behind a chair, if you're producing and you're dealing with a guitar player or a bass player or whatever it is, if you've got experience in the background on that instrument, you understand, if there's a problem in what's happening with the part or how it sounds, you can assess things that a non-player of that instrument can't assess.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally.
It's like, oh, hey, you're strumming it. You're playing, it's an electric guitar part, it's driving, and you're playing it like a folk artist. You're going like this.
Right.
All downstrokes.
Right.
Da-da-da. You make it drive, It's like, oh, okay, never thought of that. Yeah,
Are you ready to launch your career in the audio or entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, right here in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs to prepare you for the industry. From studio production and live sound to audio for film and a whole lot more. You'll learn by doing, working with professional-grade gear alongside experienced industry pros. If you're more into the business side of entertainment, SAE's Entertainment Business Program teaches essential basics like contracts and promotion to help you navigate the industry. With diploma, associate, or bachelor's degrees, there's a path for everyone. Plus, Career Services supports graduates as they take the next step. Want to see it for yourself? Immerse yourself in Nashville's exciting music scene and book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. It's funny, we had one this weekend where my buddy Kevin was playing, and I don't remember which one he rolled with in the end, but he started with downstrokes, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I wonder if it would sound cool if you actually did down and up, just these little details like that. And I think he tried it, and all of a sudden, like, the swing of the part was in the pocket, because that's why we need to learn these different details, is because they cause us to play the music differently, Sometimes, like to your point, usually we start by somebody's downstroking and upstroking because it's just easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to do. But that's, for certain songs, that's not the right sound. All downstrokes is the way to get that consistency of guitar power chord tone.
That's right.
In the same way that hitting the snare in the right place over and over gives you consistency of snare, right?
Yep. Oh, absolutely, 100%. It's really fascinating, those little kind of tricks.
And it causes, and you're actually hitting the strings differently. When you downstroke, you're hitting the low E and then the A string. So you're hitting the root, and the fifth is getting a little bit of hit in there.
Right.
If you upstroke it, you're hitting the fifth first.
And not only that, you're getting a higher register string. So it's going to sound brighter from the attack.
Right.
And not as bass heavy. So, it's really, there's, knowing how to play an instrument does make it infinitely easier when you're trying to produce someone or work on something, because I feel like it does give you an advantage.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, look, there's plenty of producers out there that are just brilliant. Rick Rubin, right?
I'm reading his book on creativity right now.
Man, that's got to be a great read. Yeah. I've not read it yet, but. I
had a great quote this morning. He quoted Oscar Wilde, said that some things in life are just too important to take seriously. Which I was like, oh, that's a great line. And then he went on to say, like, art is one of those things. Yeah. And that's that idea of, like, the lyrics of this song are just too important to take seriously, because when you take them seriously, you get stalled, you get stuck on that line figuring it out, and then you never get through it, Yeah,
and the more you do it, there are rules that you ingest that just become part of the process, But it's interesting, man. It's really fascinating when you sit in a room with someone that writes for a living, and you start bantering ideas back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to kind of see the professional songwriting approach to a song as opposed to maybe the more punk rock approach.
Right.
And
are they just ready? Is a pro ready to throw away an idea faster than you are? You're like, they're just so not attached.
Well, and I used to be really attached to ideas, and not anymore. I understand. It's
what about that idea?
What idea?
The idea you just shared. Are you attached to it?
I can't. What was the idea?
What was it?
So I feel like the thing about pros is when you do something all the time, it becomes very easy to, like if I just finished a week of writing, right? So by the end of the week, I was able to get out of my way a lot easier, and not get tied up on stuff. And lyrics they're easier to come. The pump is primed, right?
Was this writing with an artist?
Yes, both. The whole week has been writing with different art. There's two different artists I'm working with. So and the artists, have a way of saying what they want to say. So they're, lyrically, they're going to lead the direction. They're going to, kind of set the template for what we're writing, because you have to do that, or else you create a song that the artist doesn't want to sing.
Right.
And when you're,
so the initial idea sort of comes from the artist,
or you pitch an idea to the artist and you hope and pray they're honest enough with you to say, yeah, I like that, or I don't like that.
Right. Yeah. The last thing you want to do is work on something that they're doing just because they're afraid they're going to offend you.
Artists, I think by nature, are people pleasers.
Yeah.
And it is nothing more frustrating than to go, what do you think about this? Does this work for you? Would you sing that? Oh yeah, absolutely. And then they don't want to even.
Right. That's so funny that you say that too, because it makes sense. And I wouldn't necessarily say, I don't know, or I would ask, artists are people pleasers or successful artists are people pleasers? Because the successful artist understands that there's an element of service in art, just like a successful engineer learns that there's an element of service in engineering. We're in it for, we learn that as producing and engineering. You learn, hopefully, I'm here to serve the song. I'm here to serve you. And I've always thought about that. Like, what is an artist like? Well, this is all about me. Sweet. And I'm guessing a successful artist learns, no, I'm here to serve the audience, the listener or something.
Successful audience or successful artists understand their brand. They understand what they need to do. AC/DC does what AC/DC does.
Right.
You're never going to hear a drum loop. You're not going to hear a guest rap artist. You're not going to hear a female sing the hook, or whatever for a song.
The drum loop comes from sampling the Back in Black record.
Yeah, it's funny, those sounds. I love those sounds.
Yeah.
But I feel like, obviously the more successful an artist is, the more they know who they are. And it's young artists. There's always a mystery with young artists. And the question is, are you an artist? Because, everyone wants to, most people who sing or perform or whatever, they want to write their own stuff maybe, or they want to make a record or whatever. And there's, and because you can now, this is why there's so much mediocre bullshit out there, is because there's the hurdle to do it doesn't exist anymore.
Or it's like there was always so much mediocre bullshit out there. It's just that it never left the living room and the strumming on the acoustic guitar. Yeah. But now it leaves all the way to your.
Now it shows up in your playlist.
To your playlist, yeah. Right.
So, and look, I'm not trying to sound like, you kids get off my lawn. I'm not trying to sound like that, but the business has changed, and there is impact. There are results from the change that we're seeing in the artistry and the quality of the artistry. Some good, some not so good, and that's life. It's getting ready to get really interesting as AI continues to develop its hold. I'm seeing some really interesting trends with AI too. When I opened my room in Berry Hill over 15 years ago, I moved the studio out of the house, so I incurred a bunch of debt to make that decision, or to make that jump.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that I was able to help make ends meet and make that a less painful transition was to do a ton of mixing for publishers. You and I have talked about this. And when publishers got hip to track guys and started signing track guys, it was like my calendar was like September, totally booked with stuff. October, not a thing in the books. I mean, it was like someone went like this and turned the faucet off, because now publishers, they sign a track guy, pay him $25,000 a year draw.
So you mean instead of coming to you to record a band performing that song, they're just using somebody who is programming it? Or
so Nashville is a town that's been based upon the delicate balance of all the aspects of the music business, right? You have the publisher, you have the label, you have the artist, you have the songwriter, you have the producer, you have the engineer, you have the mixer, you have the studio musicians, you have the touring musicians. Those are two different classes. Sometimes they cross-sex, sometimes they don't. Or it used to be, those were, demo guys that played on demos. That's what you do. Maybe they came up with a really cool part. It's like, oh, we should get this guy in to play this part again. It's really cool. Now he makes a transition to masters, So it's always, this town has always revolved on a very delicate balance in that ecosystem, right? And we can go into more detail on that if you want, but what has happened is those walls have broken down with the advancement of technology. And one of the things that have happened is there was a period of time when a publisher would sign a track guy. If a publisher, the way a song would come to fruition, a writer would write the song, right? Two people maybe would write a song. They'd play for the publisher. Publisher would go, yeah, let's take this one to the floor. In other words, let's go demo this one. This is a good one to demo. So they would go demo it. And then if the writer wasn't a singer, they'd have to find a voice to sing the song. So now you got to bring a singer in. You got a band on the floor. You got the tracks. Now we got to record the singer. Then we got to mix the track. And then you got to, go through the revision process and send it off, and the publisher now has a demo, right? So you're looking at a course of could be up to a month and a half before the artist or the writer hears the finished song. So then you're going to demo the song. And it was expensive to do that, because now you're paying demo players to play, you're paying for a studio, you're paying for a singer, you're paying for someone to tune and edit the tracks and mix the tracks, right? Maybe add some other stuff. So it becomes a very long process and takes a little bit of time, and there's a bunch of parties involved, a bunch of aspects of it, and then the song gets pitched. And if the song gets cut, great. If not, then it sits in the the publishing company's library until there's an opportunity to either pitch it again or it just fades away.
Yeah.
So publishers learned that, oh, hold on a second. We could sign a track guy, pay him $25,000 a year, or her $25,000 a year to create content. So what happens is the track guy, the track person, ends up going to a write. Like the other aspect of it is country artists have learned over the years, another source of income is writing. Or I can write. Not everyone's Chris Christopherson, but there are people out there that can write, and contribute to that process. And they've learned, I want to participate in that. So the publisher books a write, sends a track person, sends a top line writer or someone with a guitar that writes songs, and they go and they work with the artist. At the end of the day, you get a song that the artist has contributed writing, which always increases the odds of that song being cut by the artist, right? Yeah. When they have an investment in the song. You also get a demo that's louder than God for pitching at the end of the day. And the publisher, more importantly, the publisher walks with 2/3 of the copyright.
Right.
That's, and I believe that is probably one of the biggest drivers in that. Sure, I'll pay some kid $25,000 a year to go write songs, but I'm going to get the copyright out of it.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Totally, yeah.
So
because it's business, it has to function as a business.
It has to function as a business, yeah. and technology has allowed that to happen. But the problem, I did a single for a girl from LA. And when her manager called me to ask me about writing with her, when I went to listen to her stuff on Spotify, I could not tell who she was as an artist.
Right.
And because she was writing these songs with track guys, different track guys. Now, when you go write a song with a track guy, the musicality might potentially be a little different than someone that actually plays an instrument.
Right.
So if you're the artist and you sit down with me to play, to write a song, there are things that I'm going to play based upon my influences and what I'm capable of playing.
Yeah.
But if the artist goes, I don't really like that, then it's like, okay, great. Is there something we can remedy on this? Can we change the key? Can we change the tempo? Can we change the chord inversions?
It's easy to pivot on a guitar in the writing process.
Right. When you're a track guy, you've kind of put a track together and it's like, what about this? Oh, I like that. Great. This is what we're now writing.
Right.
And it's based upon what the track guy is bringing to the session.
Right. So the artist is fitting the mold a little bit more.
The artist is fitting the mold as opposed to directing the mold.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
it's such a crucial thing too, just like in terms of creating music that has real character and has real interest when you want to listen to it and listen to it as an album too, even. Are you recording your own music or other people's music in your studio, but you're having trouble figuring out how to get your mixes to sound great? Do they sound weak and distant or lack punch and clarity? Well, I've got a gift for you to help you take your mixes from sounding like basement demos to sounding a lot more like professional mixes. And it's my free course called Mix Master Bundle. This course will show you how to get pro-sounding mixes from your home studio with free and stock plugins in Pro Tools. And the best part is, these mixing techniques will work for you in any DAW, whether you're in Logic, Cubase, PreSonus Studio One, Reaper, or anything you can think of. Are you ready to make your best record ever? Then go to mixmasterbundle.com to get started for free now, and you can find the clickable link in the show notes of this episode.
And I'm not trying to talk down about that process, but it's just an example of how the dollar value in the music business has changed. Mm-hmm. So here's what's going on now. A lot of the older writers are taking songs 15 years old or so, putting them through Sonos and getting current sounding demos and pitching those and getting cuts.
Interesting.
So in Sonos now, you can print stems. So there are people that will throw an idea into Sonos, print out the stems, put the stems in Logic or Pro Tools, replace the stems with real playing.
Right.
Or keep some of it, depending on.
Yeah.
So the business is changing.
Mm-hmm.
Where recorded music's going to be, in 5 years, who knows?
Yeah.
I think it's still going to exist, obviously. There's too much infrastructure and money tied up in that. And there's too many people that want to make art that way.
Well, I think that as long as the human element remains, there will be room for humans to find their place in the process.
Yes, I agree.
And different parts of what we do end up changing with the technology, and different roles get replaced with technology filling that role, or new roles get created or whatever. So finding that throughout the whole thing. Now, the day that we have technology that does the creating and technology also does the listening, and that's the whole business model, then we're in trouble.
Well, yeah.
It's like if there's no room for us in there, then we're in trouble.
Well, it's what's interesting to me is I've got a friend who's a writer. He's a great writer, and he has embraced the AI technology.
Yeah.
And his philosophy is, I want to know how this works.
Right. It's like saying, I'm not going to use email. I'm not going to use email until it's too late.
Until it's too late, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got to make the transition and go, what the hell is this about? But he's done such a great job, because he's helped me understand some stuff too. And I've asked him questions about, he's done such a great job of embracing the technology and using it in a really creative way as a tool, not as a solution to the end result, but as a tool to help navigate those decisions. And it's been really cool to see that. But the thing that's most mind-blowing is the progress AI has made just in a context of 1 year.
Yeah, it's such a fast learner.
Oh my God. I mean, this time last year, I remember hearing some stuff that was put through AI and going, yeah, it sounds horrible.
Yeah.
And now I'm hearing stuff that I'm going, I don't know for sure if that's not an artist in a band or not. I mean, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
What it's.
Well, I've thought about that recently too. And it's grappling with as an individual, learning and interacting with the tool and the time it takes us to get comfortable and familiar with the tool. But if the advancements are moving so fast that by the time we're comfortable with the tool, it's already changed. It's changed the whole playing field underneath. So it's learning, I think, for us to be really, really comfortable with just being able to pivot a lot, just keep changing, or learn when to stick to your guns and just say, I'm going to stick to a thing because this is what's going to, because it's like, you don't want to constantly change your brand. You want to be consistent. You don't want to constantly change your style necessarily so that people don't really know what your style is, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff like that. It's like a balancing act. Yeah.
It's almost like, I'll give you an example. I had an old high school buddy who had a son, and his son was a writer, a country writer, wrote country songs, and lived in Pennsylvania. And he would make these trips to town to write.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept telling him, I'm like, if you're serious about doing what you're doing, what you want to do, you need to live here. He's like, why? And I said, well, this is a relationship-driven business. So say a publisher sees you play and go, this guy's good. I want to hook him up with another writer, and calls you and says, hey, I've hooked up a write tomorrow with, insert writer's name here. Can you be here? If you're out of town, how are you going to answer that question? You're going to book a flight and fly to town and write a song? Economically, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And you can't write over the internet easily. I mean, people do.
You can. Zoom allows that, but it's not the same as sitting in a room.
It's a back and forth. You can't play and sing together at the same time and stuff.
Right. And the other thing is the content. So it's fascinating to me when I was doing the demo mixing, I would notice these lyrical trends that would come through, much like gear trends do in this town. You being a producer and an engineer and a studio owner, understand how that works in this town. Someone uses a set of speakers and it shows up on Instagram at some famous producer or engineer's thing. And all of a sudden, every freaking kid in town has gone out and bought that piece of gear.
Yeah, yeah.
And I lived through about 3 or 4 of those trends as a guitar player in this town. Oh my gosh, you got to go get a Korg A3. Oh my gosh, you got to use rack stuff. Oh my gosh, tube amps are back. It's like, and those trends kind of happen. Well, when I was mixing for publishing companies, I would notice the same thing with lyrical content. There'd be some thematic continuity between multiple batches of songs based upon the artists that were cutting at the time. For example, an artist, a label might put out a hit sheet saying, hey, we're looking for up-tempo summer songs, nothing about trucks, nothing about moonshine. We need fun-sounding stuff. So you see these songs that would come through that would all have these same, could live together thematically, just because
totally.
Everyone's trying to get those cuts, right? And what happens is, if you live outside of, if a song gets cut, say, and it becomes a huge hit, then you're looking at about a 6-month window between when the song was mastered and finally done and the ramp up for the record and then the album being released and then the push on the single and it becomes a hit. So you're looking at 6 to 8 months, right? And then that song lives on the charts for, if you're lucky, lives on the charts for several months or whatever, a couple of months. then you're at home listening to these songs and you're listening to the lyrical content and you're going, oh, I can do that. And you write a song like that.
Right.
And then you come to town going, hey, check this song out. I'm writing it based upon what I'm hearing. Right. And everyone in town's like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
That train's gone.
Yeah.
You know? So the only way as an artist, I think, or as a writer that you can stay current and relevant is to immerse yourself into it.
That's fascinating.
You know?
Yeah, it's so key, so crucial timing.
It's one of the tiny adjustments.
Yeah. Well, it's a timing issue. You know, it's a timing issue, and that comes into so many things. Unfortunately, it also comes into our podcast because we're at the end. But man, dude, I love this, and I wish apologies. I wish we had more time. So
I do too, man.
Rolling.
I just
we'll have to do another one. We'll do another one.
I love it. I've seen what you've done with this podcast and how cool this is. The studio. You should see this studio, guys. It's pretty badass.
Thanks, man. It's pretty cool. You know, there's a room cam now, so hopefully if that's working, everybody gets a nice little, wide shot of see a little bit.
But I love, I love hanging out with you, man. It's like, it's always great. We always have great conversations and you're immensely talented and it's just fun to be able
thanks, dude. And it's, I feel the same way about you. And it's really, it's inspiring too, because you've been making music for a long time. And I know that there's a lot of challenges along the way and there's a lot of obstacles and there's a lot of moments that we can have where we think, I don't know if I want to do this, but I don't know if I'm going to do this, or I don't know if something's going to change. And it's always so much fun to like reconnect with you and just see you're like right on the track, man. You're just right. Wheels burning up the road. Well, every bit of enthusiasm as you've always had. I get a lot of opportunity to talk to young artists. And one of the things that I always ask is, do you have a plan B? Right. Yeah. And if they do, I say that's what you need to go do. Totally. Because I promise you, in this business, at some point you're going to question your very existence and every aspect of your talent and everything else. And if you have a plan B, you're going to go do that. So, yeah, totally. So go do that, make your money, and do this on the side for fun while you still enjoy it and love it, and great, Yeah. And maybe, and that might be related to my closing question, which I've asked you before, and I'm going to ask again if I can. Hopefully, I swallowed my water off. So. Excuse me. But we're going to take the Wayback Studio machine. You get to go back in time and find young Roger, and you say, "Listen, dude, here's the single most important thing you need to know to be a rock star of the studio yourself one day." I don't know if I can make it through the question here. But if you found yourself and you gave yourself advice, maybe it would be that same thing you just said. What would you go back and tell yourself if you could? Buy the real estate. Yeah. Buy the real, if you want to have a business as a studio and run a studio and all this, buy the property, because that's where the value is. Yeah. And that's, that point applies to the other aspects too. It applies to the, it applies to buying into the love of making music and writing the songs, making the production. It applies to buying into the intellectual property of the music. So like getting yourself involved in the songwriting, learning how to do that. It involves in, buying into the whole beginning to end process. Well, it's if you're going to go play live, you make sure you have a good instrument. It might not be an instrument, it might not be just go for it. Yeah. The reason why I say the property is the one thing that will continue to go up in value. Right. Right. The studio that I work out of, that I rent from Richard, if I were to try to buy that studio, the amount of money I would have to spend to have that property is a horrible decision. It would put me underwater financially, and it would throw the whole balance of everything off. Right. So, but if this were 20 years ago, it would be a value would be less expensive, obviously. Right, because you'd be looking, you'd be buying it with the intention to live out that 20 to 30-year mortgage, working from there. Yeah. So it's just, anyways, it's the same thing. Buy good gear,
learn on something shitty until you can hear the difference, and then buy something nice.
I love
and
it.
You'll go, oh, I get now why this is $5,000 for this pre. It's like you can hear it.
Yeah.
But if you can't hear it, maybe learn on something of less value first. To make sure it's something you want to do and something you want to have, or if it's a tool that works well in your workflow, but allow your ear a chance to develop.
Yeah.
And when it does develop, then, you'll start to go, I can no longer use this piece of gear because it doesn't quite sound the way I want it to sound. Oh, that means you've made progress. Oh my gosh, I've made progress. I now, I know what that sounds like now. It's in my workflow. So yes. Or it might be like, I don't really use that anyways. Doesn't really apply in my workflow. Great. Right. Let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, awesome, man. So much fun to have you back on the show again. Let the rock stars know. How can they find you? So let's say they want to check out your work. Maybe they want to connect with you. Maybe they're curious. Maybe they just got questions. Maybe they want to hear more about what we did, what we got into, the topic of how it all works down here. How would you like everybody to find you and reach out to you?
You can I have a website, rogeralannichols.com. There's ways of reaching me through there if you want. Or Instagram is Belltone Recording. And then I have another one, which is just pictures of my dog. So you probably don't want that one.
I love it.
But that's probably the easiest way. Awesome. There's definitely opportunities on the website if you can't find me from what's available online, then you probably don't need to find me.
Nice, yeah, move to Nashville and come knock. Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe don't knock during a session.
Exactly.
Thanks, dude. Rockstars, thank you for joining us. If you are listening to the audio, then know that we're right here on YouTube, and you can see Roger's awesome haircut, dude. No, awesome look and excitement and enthusiasm too.
Oh.
And, if you enjoyed this video too, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that really helps the podcast. It really helps the videos kind of reach more people like yourself who also enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's the key. And drop a question in below, make a comment. Please let us know if you enjoyed it. Let us know if we missed anything or we got anything wrong. Sometimes that's also helpful.
And if you have comments on the
or questions for you, right?
If there's anything I've said that's been offensive or
then fuck off.
Exactly. Then grow the hell up and understand the world's tough. It's just this is a tough business, and people have a lot of questions, and it's all subjective. So if you want to blow some time and waste your time, then reach out to me and let me answer one of the questions if you have it.
That's great, man. That's great.
It doesn't mean shit.
That's one of the beauties of what we do is we love this stuff so much, and we love talking about it. And we love meeting people and connecting.
That's right.
So thank you for watching and liking and all that. And Raj, thanks for being here.
Always.
Look forward to seeing you around the studio. Dude.
Absolutely, buddy. All
Cheers.
Right. Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our fantastic sponsors who make this episode possible. Isotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Atom Audio, Spectra 1964, Grace Design, and Picker. And remember to take advantage of our special coupon code ROCK10 for 10% off any plugin purchase at isotope.com or nativeinstruments.com. And don't forget, you can start mixing right now with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. If you enjoyed Recording Studio Rockstars, Please check out our sponsors using the links in the show notes below. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They're going to help you make your best record ever. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because it's a great way to help support this show. And I'd also like to thank our fantastic team here at Recording Studio Rockstars, Vlad Weselchenko, Daria Tupesis, and Max Young. Thanks so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.